Manipur has been rocked with ethnic clashes starting May 3rd, after the All Tribal Students Union of Manipur decided to hold a solidarity march against the High Court verdict in which the government was asked to consider ST status for the majority Meitei community, after which violence erupted between the Meiteis and the Kuki community of the state. According to reports, 80 lives have already been lost due to the ensuing violence. The figures, which remain highly suspicious as no authentic detail can be ascertained due to the suspension of internet from the state. As the situation got worse, central security forces were deployed in the state to control the violence, to which it continues to do so till date. State leaders have vociferously appealed to the people of Manipur to maintain peace but to no respite. Another issue was that while Manipur was burning, no central leader visited the state before Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai, who arrived in the violence-hit state on 25th May, then brought some relieving news to the citizens of Manipur, stating that Home Minister Amit Shah was to arrive in the state on the 29th of May. And Union Home Minister, who was in Manipur to assess the situation in the violence-hit state, while holding a press conference in Imphal, admitted that the 29th April Manipur High Court judgment was done in a hurry and was the instigator of the violence that erupted in the state. Manipur in the last 6 years has moved on the path of development, and ever since BJP came in power, they have made Manipur Bandh, blockade and violence-free, he said. Home Minister Shah appealed to all citizens of Manipur to not believe in rumors. He said that the violence in Manipur erupted due to misunderstanding. He strongly warned all the suspension of operation groups not to violate the terms and conditions, and said that the centre will take strict action if found violating the agreement. He then appealed to all those with arms to surrender the weapons. Police combing operations will begin tomorrow, and those caught with weapons will face stringent action, and all sections of IPC will be put on the individual. He then appealed to all the civil society organizations of both communities not to aggravate the situation and collectively work in ensuring and bringing back peace to the state.
मेरी सभी मणिपुर वासियों के से अपील है कि आप कृपया अफवाहों पे ध्यान न दें। अफवाहों के निरसन के लिए यहाँ पर कुछ टोल फ्री नंबर बनाए गए हैं। इधर और साइड से शांति बनाए रखें। मणिपुर में शांति के कारण विकास का एक नया युग 6 साल से चल रहा था। कोर्ट के एक फैसले के कारण, थोड़ी मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग के कारण ये मनमुटाव हुआ है। मुझे भरोसा है कि मणिपुर की जनता आपसी सद्भाव के साथ चर्चा कर जल्दी इसका निपटारा लाएगी। जहां तक केंद्र सरकार का सवाल है, मैं एक स्थिति स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं। मैं सू ग्रुप वालों को भी एक कठोर संदेश देना चाहता हूं कि सू एग्रीमेंट का किसी भी प्रकार का वायोलेशन, किसी भी प्रकार का विचलन बहुत सख्ती से साथ लिया जाएगा और वो समझौते के भंग के रूप में लिया जाएगा। तो कृपया समझौते की सभी शर्तों का कठोरता से आप पालन करिए। आज से हम इसको बहुत स्ट्रिक्टली मॉनिटर करेंगे और जिन लोगों के पास हथियार हैं उनसे भी मैं अपील करना चाहता हूं कि अपने अपने हथियार पुलिस के सामने सरेंडर कर दें। कल से पुलिस कॉम्बिंग ऑपरेशन करेगी और कॉम्बिंग ऑपरेशन करने के बाद जिनके पास से हथियार मिलेंगे उन पर कठोर न्यायिक धाराएं लगाई जाएंगी। तो मेरा सभी से अपील है कि जिनके पास हथियार हैं वो सभी लोग पुलिस के सामने अपने हथियारों को सरेंडर कर दें। मैं सभी सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से भी निवेदन करना चाहता हूं कि अफवाहों पर ध्यान न दें। समय शांति बनाने का है, समाज के अंदर सद्भावना बढ़ाने का है और जिस काम के लिए आप लोगों ने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनाया है, मैं मानता हूं वो काम यही है। तो आप लोग कृपया दोनों साइड से शांति बनाने का, चर्चा का और सद्भाव बढ़ाने का माहौल बनाए, ऐसी मेरी आप सबसे विनती है। धन्यवाद।
And now to talk a little more on how effective the Home Minister's visit to Manipur would be, and also to talk a little more about the ensuing violence that is still taking place in Manipur, we are joined by our Associate News Editor, Sayal Nguli, who will be speaking to us on this particular issue and also try and find out more details, or rather get more point of view as to how the government and also how the centre and its leaders are, what methods and measures they are taking to bring back peace and normalcy in the state of Manipur. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for joining us on this newsroom. Sir, Home Minister Amit Shah visited Manipur on the 29th of May and he stayed for over 3 days. Now, Home Minister, which is such a big news because the Home Minister of India is normally regarded as the guardian who takes initiative or who is in charge of maintaining law and order inside the country. So, sir, how effective do you think his visit will be, because Manipur is going through a very, very hard time?
Yeah, Kivi, I think before we get into that, I think we'll go back to about 2 weeks ago when there was a report that the government of India had actually promulgated Article 356 or 355,
Yes.
which is similar to President's rule. The only thing is that the administration is not taken over by the central government as is done during President's rule. So if you remember, so when you have a situation like that and the state police forces are taken over by a security advisor, the only thing you don't have is the president himself. So it's some kind of, it's a de facto kind of a president's rule. So considering that situation, it is not surprising that the Home Minister himself came to Manipur, Akivi. So we have to look at the whole constitutional framework and the way the state runs during times of conflict. And when you have Article 356 people are talking about Article 356 and that the president might actually be the one to take over the state. But because you don't have the president herself taking over the administration of the state, you have Article 355. So this basically means that the whole administration of the state, especially in internal matters, is basically in the hands of the central government. So, of course, we wouldn't have the Prime Minister there, but we had the Home Minister himself visiting Manipur. So just like you said, he is the guardian of the government of India. So we have basically the highest ranking government functionary in the central government coming to Manipur. So I think that itself speaks about the magnitude of the problem that Manipur had to undergo during the past about 3 weeks. So it speaks a lot, and definitely that the central government itself was there in the person of Amit Shah in Manipur. It definitely, I think, calmed a lot of nerves, and of course the central and the state services in the state of Manipur had to pull up their socks in that event because, like I said, he embodies the central government, and definitely that speaks a lot, Akive.
All right, so there's a small portion of people that have criticized the central government. I mean, like, if you look at the timeline of the events, on the 27th, the Manipur government had commissioned for a survey of a reserve, of a forest to mark it as a reserve forest.
Right.
Then on the 29th of April, the Manipur High Court had asked the government of Manipur for consideration of giving Meiteis ST status.
Right.
And then on 3rd of May 2023, the All Tribal Students Union Manipur, they held a solidarity march against the HC verdict.
Yeah, that's where it started, right?
Yes,
I think.
exactly. So,
Right,
sir,
right.
there is this, the criticism that I'm talking about is why did it take 26 days? I mean, okay, 25th, Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai visited Manipur. He was the first central leader to actually visit the state.
Right.
And on the 29th, for 3 days, 29th, 30th, 31st and 1st of June, Union Home Minister Amit Shah reached Manipur and he stayed there for 3 days. So do you think it was a little too late on the side of the central government to actually come to the ground? I mean, because after May 3rd, the violence that was unleashed was something Manipur had never seen before. And reports have already stated that about 80 lives have been lost in this ensuing violence, out of which the number seems to be kind of shaky because the internet has been suspended in Manipur ever since. So do you think that the center could have come a little more earlier?
I think it is natural for people to come up with a lot of conspiracy theories, especially during times of conflict, Akivi.
Yes.
And to be fair to the government of India, no matter what the reports might be saying or what community conversations in Manipur might be hinting towards, to be fair, when you are in the middle of a conflict, the way Manipur saw during the past 1 month, I think it is very natural for the government authorities, not just the central government authorities, even the state and local authorities had to ensure that there has to be a semblance of peace, a semblance of security for them to actually entertain central government leaders, because this is a big deal. This is not something, this was not an event that was, that was ignited in certain rural parts of the state. It was widespread across towns and cities and villages, Akive. So I understand that there might be frustration from the local communities, whether they're from the hills or whether they are from the valleys. But to be very fair, like I said, you have to take into context the idea of safety and security for people. People were dying out, their houses were being burned, about 1,700 houses. By the end of the first week, I think we had reports of about 65 persons dead. So that was not a time when central government leaders or anyone might be visiting. That was not a very good time. So to be fair to them, I think it is not really justified whether they should have come early or whether they came in late. Because right now, as we are talking, I think a lot of things have already happened, and the government of India and the state government of Manipur, I believe they're doing their part or whatever is required at that time. But as to the question of whether they should have come in earlier, I think that is not a question we should really be asking at this time.
All right, now coming back to, I mean, if you look at the Manipur Legislative Assembly, sir, there are 60 representatives of the people that have been elected last year, and the BJP has got a majority there.
Right.
Now, sir, I mean, if you just take the status of an MLA or a minister, sir, I mean, in anywhere else in India, whenever there's a minister visiting any place, there's always a red carpet that is laid down for them, and you know there are people welcoming them with garlands and bouquets.
Right.
But this time around, if you look at the situation in Manipur, MLAs are being targeted, the ministers are being targeted, their houses have been targeted.
Right.
So, sir, I mean, you are basically the representative of the people, because the people elected you to the Manipur Legislative Assembly House. So, do you think that, and a lot of them have also been asking for resignation of Chief Minister N. Biren Singh.
Right.
So, do you think in this particular instance, the legislators have failed to take the voice of the people when it comes to this issue, sir?
Yeah, I think there were reports earlier about a certain section of the community in Manipur demanding that their representatives resign from the Manipur Legislative Assembly. And these demands were mostly from the hill areas. And I believe that about 10 Kuki, if I'm not mistaken, 10 Kuki MLAs, right, Kivi? 10 of them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they were asking that Chief Minister Biren Singh resign and step down, and there were also certain sections from the valley communities who wanted that certain MLAs from their constituencies resign because of all this. But I think, Akive, this, like I say, this is not some kind of an isolated event that happened in Manipur, but an outbreak of violence that expressed decades and maybe even a century-long frustration and tensions within communities in Manipur. So when the violence came to a head about 3 weeks ago, I think the whole idea was not about how the people were being represented and whether their welfare was being given a voice in the state assembly. So the whole expression of the Chief Minister of Manipur and his MLAs resign was not necessarily something related directly to the issue, but an expression of anger that found a statement and resonance within their representatives. So it might not have helped the situation a bit, because you need your representatives to actually present your voice in the assembly. If they resign, nobody would be speaking for you, because it would be the state, the central government that will have to come in, and you have to talk to them directly, the way Amit Shah came in and had to interact with the community and the government himself. So that might not have been the logical solution to any problem that Manipur was facing during that time, but I think I would say that it was something that came out of the frustration of the people, because if you look now, no MLA from the Manipur Assembly has resigned. Akivi.
All right. Now coming to Union Home Minister Amit Shah's visit. Sir, in the press conference that he had held yesterday, one of the biggest or the highlight of the press conference was that the centre has now formed a panel with a retired ex-High Court judge to look into the cause, the reasons behind the violence, the people who are involved in the violence and what instigated the whole spree of violence in the state. Now, yesterday the Meitei Lipui, who is also the apex organization for the Meiteis, have also now asked that panel to probe, to bring in the illegal immigration angle to this probe. This illegal immigration has been one of the weapons of the Meiteis, saying that the Kukis are all illegal immigrants. So, how does this now change the face of the investigation?
The Manipur issue is very, very complicated. Like even the previous year, we were talking about how the Manipur community, especially those in the valleys, were demanding the ILB to be implemented in Manipur. And then there was a situation in Pal where I think a group of communities started fighting in the middle of the streets. One of them said that they should be given ILP. One of the organizations said that they should be given the ILP administration for Impal, and the other group said that because you are not ST, you will not get it. You won't get the ILP. And I think the whole contention, is that if you are an ST, you are privy to a lot of special privileges. So if you have these privileges, you have also privileges of ownership over land, special privileges are given. So now from ILP to ST status, and now we are talking about how the whole Manipur issue started from the idea of illegal immigrants residing in certain parts of the forests of the state. I think the whole conflict situation is already messed up, Akivi, here. We don't know from where it started. We don't know what actually the whole violence was about. But if you look into history of Manipur and the relations between the tribals and the valley-based people, it has a lot of angles there. You have illegal immigrants, you have ILP, you have poppy plantations, you have this and that militants. So all of them are mixed together that it is impossible for us to actually say, oh, of course, yes, the violence started because of events related to the forest and forest or land ownership. But that is not the core reason why the whole Manipur upheaval started, Akivi. We can't say that for sure.
All right, so now coming back to the accusations made by many Kuki legislators and also Kuki leaders. So they have expressed their resentment over this language used by Manipur Chief Minister Biren Singh. I mean, HornbillTV had a discussion with one of the Kuki leaders, and he openly admitted to HornbillTV that in various press conferences that the Chief Minister of Manipur Biren Singh has had, he has always used the terms like poppy cultivators, illegal immigrants, militants, and due to which the feeling of the Kuki community, it was getting a little dampened. So, I mean, now sir, coming to the question, I mean, in today's context or in today's time, as a public leader or basically the face of a state, how important is it for a leader to hold his horses when he speaks, and how important is it to have that level of decency when you're speaking about something, and is it important or is it no more important in today's time, sir?
Oh yeah, great question, Akivi. I have not personally listened to any of his bites, and including the ones that we have in the office here. But I've been having a sense of the way he uses his language ever since the Manipur situation erupted, and then we have been seeing his statements in the print and in television also. So I've been getting a sense of the way he has been using his language and the way he has been applying the language to certain situations that has been happening. And you're right, Akivi, it is very important, especially during times as the ones that we saw about 3 or 4 weeks ago in Manipur, it is very important that, especially for a public leader, especially for a government leader in the position of a chief minister, it is important that you take care of the kind of language you use and the kind of language you employ to address certain issues. We have been hearing a lot about, we don't hear about the issues, what started the violence, from where did it start. We have been hearing only about Kuki militants, Maite militants, poppy cultivators, and illegal settlers. So I think you're right, definitely it's very important for someone in the position of a chief minister or anyone who is a member of the Legislative Assembly to take care of his language, because this particular person represents the sentiments of not only the people who are suffering, but who are also oppressing the other community. He is representing both the communities here, Akivi. So his language should have been, personally for me, somewhat a little on the, no matter how much politically washed it might be, I would rather have it in a way where I'm more polite. I don't have to be very specific about my denouements. I don't have to use very harsh language or too careless words like the tribal people or these Maite people or Kuki people. I think it would have been very good if the chief minister had used a little more accommodative language in there, because there are people, especially on the internet, who have accused him of being very partial. And when I say partial, I give you know what I'm trying to say here.
All right, so now in conclusion, I mean, it is very unfortunate that whatever is happening in Manipur with all the violence that is taking place. But sir, in times of, in situations like this, I mean, if you look at it, it is always the children that suffer. They have nothing to do in this violence. They have no reason, they have no role to play in this violence, but somehow they are the most affected. Now coming to the education sector, I mean, like if you look at it, May 3rd it started, there were burns and now there are curfews. The students are losing out a lot on their classes and the class timing. So sir, don't you think like the people affected by this violence, especially the children, are now, instead of taking a step forward, now they are taking a step back? And do you think it's going to be difficult for them to catch up with the rest of the country when it comes to the education standard? And what can the government do so that the children of both the communities who are being affected due to this violence, how can the government do to help them stay at par or on par, or at least not so lagging behind when it comes to education, sir?
Yeah, definitely the youths, the children and the students in Manipur, they are the ones, they are not only the ones that have been hit the hardest, but I think in the long run, they are going to be the ones that's going to carry a lot of trauma even in the future, Akivi. So right now, we don't know how the process is going to work in favor of the students of Manipur, and including those who have been studying there. We don't know how the process will work out, but for now, for sure, the one thing that we can expect from the government of Manipur and the central government is that they first have to ensure that safety and security for all the citizens, whether they are for men or women or children, safety and normalcy should be the first goal, first objective if they want to start opening schools and colleges. I think that is very obvious. And then second, I think it'll be good if there will be some kind of a community outreach among the communities also, because what we're talking about here is not just infrastructure or development or education of children. We are also talking about social trauma that one day or the other is going to emerge in a similar form of violence. So I think the first thing to do is to just address the safety and security issue, so that somehow there is a semblance of normalcy for the institutions to reopen. Second, community dialogue with all the communities there, the government included. I think this will instill a sense of faith in the children that whatever has happened was not necessarily because of them. Children, according to psychology, children often blame themselves for things that happen around them, and that is the reason why it is very easy for children to copy their parents' behavior, even their food habits. So it is something similar to that. So right now, like I said, if they can have a community dialogue between as a healing process, that will help a little bit the psyche of the children, because like I said, we don't know how the process will play out later in the future. And in the future, if the trauma emerges, it is going to emerge in a deadlier form, Akive.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining me on this special newsroom and giving us more insight as to the happenings that are happening in Manipur.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me, Akive.
All right, so that was our associate editor, Anguli, and we just heard from him. It's a very grave situation, and we hope and pray that peace and normalcy returns, and we hope that the children of Manipur get back to a life of being children, to a life of just playing out in the roads and on the ground. And we hope that whatever violence has taken place, we hope that the citizens of Manipur can heal themselves so that they can look forward to a better tomorrow.